I think for me, the biggest catalyst for change actually was the 60 days I did on the desert island, because I'd developed a weird thing which is called a reflected sense of self. And I don't know, it's a sort of psychological term whereby if you walk into a room and you tell a joke and everyone laughs, you're funny because everyone's just laughed. And I think comedians like yourself probably are very susceptible to this as well. But or you walk the length of the Amazon and everyone tells you you're super tough, and then you know that you're super tough. So that's an extreme version of it. But then I went to this island and I was on my own, and there was no camera people, and there was no nothing, and literally I just wanted to be sick on the beach. And I couldn't work out why I was spinning out so much. And latterly, and it took a long time to work this out, I recognized that I had no identifier. I didn't know who I was. And because I was so used to doing things in order to almost manipulate other people's opinion of me in order to know who I was. So I had to literally sit there on the beach and go like, okay, am I the sort of person who do I want to be reliable? Do I want to be flaky and not turn up at stuff? Or do I want to always turn up at stuff? Do I want to be late? Do I want to be honest? Or do I want to cheat on people? And then literally I didn't have a pen or a paper, annoyingly, because it was on a desert island naked. But I had to sort of memorize this list of the things that I wanted to be. I was like, no one else is going to make this decision for you, Ed. It's completely up to you as to the human being you are. And it was quite an interesting thing to go through. And I kind of wish I'd done it earlier, actually.
That's really profound. Like when we talked before, you said about like that meeting your friends, I think were Australian Aboriginal friends, and that they said like that you go, oh, shut up, I can hear your thinking. And that like the same word that they use for mind, they use for a tangled fishing net. And they also acknowledge the consciousness of the heart and the consciousness of the belly. And like in modern biology or anatomy, it's recognized that there are neurological cells in the gut and neurological cells in the heart. There is a type of thinking, in inverted commas, or at least awareness, that takes place on that level. I also spoke to Carlo Rovelli, the physicist who writes a lot of them popular sort of science books, 7 easy theories about science or whatever, like he makes physics more accessible. He told me this thing, Ed, that I've been thinking about ever since. He says on the most, and obviously he's translating it into a level that someone off a podcast can understand. He goes, on the most basic level of material reality, there is nothing that is objectively stable and set. The reality of the reality of the quantum world is relational. Things exist in relationship to other things. That's when they become solid, as it were, real. So in a way saying there's no reality at all. Everything is potential. It's there and it's not there. And like, so when you're saying that you found yourself as you in that 60 days, the island one, like, that's Naked and Marooned, isn't it? Like on that one, like the sort of the psychological state that is induced in you there is you're stripped of relationship. Who are you? Who are any of us without relationship? Who am I if I don't have my dog to talk to? I don't have the people I work with, don't have my family, don't have, like the objects in my life. It makes me realize, oh fuck, I'm a construct. And like, I love that it led you to a point where you said like, well, I'm gonna take responsibility and design who I am.
Well, it was that, or just utter abandon, and I couldn't really do the other. I mean, it sounds melodramatic, but it wasn't at all. It was I would be so low. You'd look at this beautiful sunset from my little cave, and I just don't care. I absolutely don't care. That isn't going to get food in me tomorrow. I was getting zero enjoyment for quite a lot of the time, and I could have just spiraled downwards. Everyone's got, I think, the capability of spiraling, and then there's a part of you that just goes, pulls you up, doesn't it? And you just go, look, come on, Ed, you can do this. Like, let's just take a deep breath and let's hold your hand through this experience. And it is scary, and it is, you're having to go into the very depths and cores of your whole psychology. And I did go into therapy in latter years, but a year and a half after that experience, I went into therapy, and that was one of the most transformative periods of my life. And I think, I wasn't straitjacket or anything like that, and I didn't have the same sort of addiction issues as other people and stuff. But I did feel that, having a certain level of self-awareness in life just makes you more honest, doesn't it? Because I think so many people they're not just not honest to other people, but they're not really honest to themselves, because there's bits of themselves that that they don't really want to explore. And whenever they think about it, they go and have a cigarette, or they go and have a drink, or they go and have a bite of chocolate, or they open their phone, probably more usually nowadays.
Yes.
And I think not having all those distractions was what was key to the catalyst to change for me, because on the island, because there was nowhere to hide, and therefore it was quite terrifying, but equally, but pretty powerful as well. Yeah.
Yeah, you're confronted with the reality of who you are. It sounds amazing, and it's like no coincidence that sort of a lot of spiritual traditions at their esoteric end have a lot of asceticism and denial in them. Don't have sex, don't drink, don't take drugs, don't eat loads of food, spend time alone in solitude, so that you start to realize, hang on a minute, this is all fucking bull. I made all this stuff up. That's not even who I am. You know, you're not able to distract yourself continually. But if you can find harmony with who you actually are, and it's obviously what I'm striving to do still, then you're not like, you can have a loving relationship with your children, your wife, your friends, your work, not a dependent relationship on, if I haven't got this, then I'm fucked. You know, like, so you better not leave me, or you better not treat me bad, because my sense of self is dependent on you treating me good. You know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And do you know what? I wasn't capable of a marriage prior to that experience, and certainly I'd always thought about kids, but had been scared of having kids in case I just messed the whole thing up. And it wasn't overnight when I was on the island, but over the course of that period afterwards, I just thought, you know what, I trust myself to do this now. You know, I trust myself not to cheat on somebody, for example, or not to be a flaky dad who doesn't spend the sort of time he's got to spend with his kids to make them humble, nice, well-rounded human beings. You know, so yeah, no, I really do actually advocate time on your own. I think it's a really powerful catalyst, and it's something that so rarely anybody does, doesn't it? Who spends more than an hour on their own, really? Apart from the time you're asleep, you spend so little time on your own, and if you do, the chances are that you're doing something else, aren't you? You're either driving, or you're listening to the radio, or so yeah, I think it is.
When people go on their retreats, like, which I've not done, like they always say around day 3, people start crying and freaking out, like, you know, like silent retreats of 10 days, and that about 3 days in, people start to probably experience the stuff that you experienced in extreme there, like something hits you, you know.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, and I know that you've had to go quite extreme in order, because of the addiction thing, but I don't want to give up having a beer. I don't want to give up seeing mates and going to the pub. For me, that's part of my life, and I do sometimes, when I'm on these little fitness benders, avoid going to the pub, and then I miss out, you know, and then I have to go. So I think everyone has their little dilemmas in life as to how best to live life, and like there's purist, and then I don't want to be that, though. I want to be a little bit below purist.
Yeah, a little bit of grit in the oyster, a little bit of filth on it. If you enjoyed that, you can get a subscription for as little as $2.99 per month with Luminary's annual plan, plus a 7-day free trial to get started. Visit luminarypodcast.com. Under the Skin is only available on Luminary. It's a subscription podcast network. It's fantastic. Get your 7-day free trial. Get some good quality podcast content down your neck hole. Only from Luminary.